Hello, my name is Michael Mazarang, and I'm a Crawlspace air quality specialist here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And today I'm here with Billy Mitchell. He's the owner of Intellivent, and Billy and I work together on multiple projects here in the Charlotte area, fixing crawl spaces that have challenges. And today Billy and I wanted to talk a little bit about some common questions that we get in the industry. And I think one of the most common questions that I get asked on my phone calls are, what's the difference between an encapsulation and a ventilated crawl space? Which is a great question. Up until 2012, I used to be a sealed crawl space advocate, and you may be one of my customers where I sealed up your crawl space. In 2012, I was introduced to a new concept called controlled ventilation, which changed my thinking in the way crawl space science works. Instead of sealing up your crawl space, which has some disadvantages, I've learned that doing a dew point controlled ventilation system is an effective alternative to doing the traditional sealed crawl space. Billy, tell me a little bit about your company and your experience with this type of problem that you've dealt with over the last few years.
What we've dealt with is we're sort of a direct competitor to the encapsulated crawl space idea. What we use is called the ATMOX system. It's a controlled ventilation system, like you deferred to. It uses a system of fans. It's a low voltage technology. And what we have found is that you can adequately ventilate a space, a crawl space area, and if you can move enough air through it intelligently using a controller that measures dew point and or humidity inside and outside to decide which air to let in, and it can be just as effective in preventing moisture and mold problems at a much less cost than what an encapsulation system can typically be. So the ATMOX system is it's a system of fans that uses that controller installed on the existing ventilation openings on the house. Then we seal off the other ventilation openings, making it sort of a semi-sealed crawl space with a good vapor barrier on the floor. And that system would run when the relative humidity inside is higher than the relative humidity outside, and it does this by dew point. It's a little bit technical, but it basically decides to bring in good air when good air is available.
And basically what we've discovered through our experience in the industry, I used to work for a franchisee that sells expensive pool liners and dehumidifiers that go under houses. Certainly that is an approach that is common in the industry, but we've learned that there are some disadvantages to closing off the crawl space entirely and eliminating that benefit of outside air. Here in North Carolina, of course, in the summer it gets too hot and humid for us to use that air during the day, but at night the dew points drop, and in the middle of the evening we might get the conditions that are conducive for exchange, where we can invite that fresh air into the crawl space and get rid of all that moisture that built up during the day in one clean swoop. Within 10 minutes we can have several changeovers of air in that whole house envelope. Billy, we talk about dehumidifiers, and I've certainly put in my share of dehumidifiers in my career. And what I've learned in my experience is that dehumidifiers are not very efficient inside crawl spaces. What have you learned in your experience?
Yeah, Mike, if someone's answer to solving a moisture issue in a crawl space is just to put a dehumidifier in it, and I've heard this a lot, that's kind of a no-no. If you think about a dehumidifier just sitting in a space where the outside openings are still allowing the flow of air in, then you would essentially be trying to dehumidify all the air in Charlotte, and that's not going to happen. You can dehumidify all that air in that space, and as you kick it out of the backside of that dehumidifier, it's continuing to come in through the crawl space vents. You haven't really controlled anything. What that will cause, these units that are crawl space rated are typically 400 to 700 watts, and some of them are a little bigger. You would increase your energy usage drastically. I've seen studies where it could be $100 to even $200 a month during peak run times. It would also shorten the life of the unit. I sell dehumidifiers too, and I would love to sell a lot of them, but my honest answer is they're kind of a last resort, and they should be viewed that way.
Yes, I mean, dehumidifiers can be applied to the application if needed. Certainly if you have a crawl space that has drainage problems or excessive amount of water entering that crawl space. But it's important to remember that dehumidifiers are a humidistat controlled device. And the cooler the temperatures, the less efficient those units become. I've gone into some crawl spaces and I've seen the settings on the dehumidifier set to the driest setting. And when it's 55 degrees in the crawl space, the dehumidifier is not smart enough to know that it should shut off. So the homeowner is paying a lot of extra money to power that device. Not to mention, the dehumidifier is going to have to be replaced, most likely within 5 years. And the commercial models cost $1,500, where we can take that investment and put it into the controlled ventilation system, eliminating that device and saving that customer that expense on the energy bill. Also, we've learned through experience, when you close up a crawl space, you're not getting any fresh air inside the space, and that causes the off-gassing of construction materials, the soil, the plastic. I've had customers complain after we've sealed up a crawl space that they can actually smell the plastic because they're not getting any fresh air. Kind of like sticking your head into a plastic bag and closing it, you eventually have to have some fresh air. Your house is designed to ventilate upwards, and so the AtMox system is an engineered system to make your crawl space vents work like they were designed to do by adding an engineered system to the equation. Billy, what else can you tell me? Certainly we see a lot of franchisees in this market that have their particular brand of plastic or dehumidifier. All these products can be purchased locally here, saving our customers thousands and thousands of dollars. There's really no need to have to use a franchise system where they send commission-based salespeople out to your house and they're motivated to jack the price up on the project well beyond what's needed for the solution. Wouldn't you say that it's much more advantageous to use an independent group like us that can come in independently and design a solution specific for that house, instead of, as some of the franchisees do, they sell a system based on that commission-based mentality? What is your experience with that?
Yeah, I see that a lot in bids that I'm competing against, and it's a disingenuous tactic. The franchisees have certain sales markers that they have to reach to remain in good standing with that franchise, as I understand it. We don't have any of that, any of those strings attached with our business. In situations where we have a minor moisture problem, it may be as simple as just installing a drain or installing just a typical 10 mil plastic vapor liner on the floor. It could be a really small job. It could be, we could add the AtMox system onto it. In some extreme cases, we could even add a dehumidifier on the AtMox relay that would run a lot less of the time. But we take a graduated approach where I get the feeling that some of these franchisees, they want to throw the whole $10,000 or $12,000 solution at a crawl space, and it's definitely not always needed. I mean, we see it all the time.
In my experience, unless you're going to use the crawl space for a storage facility, most people don't care about what kind of plastic you put under the house. Plastic's plastic. The code requires a 6 mil staked vapor barrier. Often I'll recommend a 10 mil staked black is sufficient, and then we can take the money that you save on the vapor barrier and stick it into the controls and the systems that are actually solving your problem. I've seen pricing on some of the franchisees to be at $4 a square foot for these pretty 20 mil white pool liners. But it's important to remember that thickness of plastic means absolutely nothing in regards to moisture control. You get the same amount of benefit from a 6 mil that you do a 20 mil. So certainly the advantage to using a more contractor grade plastic can save you thousands of dollars on the project. I mainly just wanted to, Billy, how long have you been in business?
We've been independently installing AtMox systems for about 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in addition to that, I have a relationship with the AtMox company. I service existing installs. A lot of those systems are 10 and 12, some even a little older, 10 and 12 years old. You know, the fans will, you know, over time may fail after the 10 or 12 year mark. So I go out and service those systems. I have a decent bit of experience servicing those older systems as well. But the technology on them is great. I mean, I don't have typically fans that will quit running on me. They last a really long time.
Well, that's certainly great, and Billy is certainly a very technical installer when it comes to these types of systems. The good news is, especially if you're one of my former clients, if you have a sealed crawl space, also these systems can be upgraded. All the money that you spent on your sealed crawl space, you know, certainly is good money that we can take. With just a small additional investment, we can put your commercial dehumidifier on the AtMox control with a relay kit, and instead of that unit surviving 5 years perhaps, we could extend the lifespan to perhaps 20 years for that unit, because the relay kit will now determine when that unit comes on and off. We just simply cut the intake and exhaust ports for the AtMox system, maybe some dead corner fans to blow the air around the crawl space, and we can solve this challenge of stale air in your sealed crawl space situation. So certainly, you know, if you have a crawl space moisture problem, or if you have an existing sealed crawl space and you'd like to upgrade your system, or just if you're starting from scratch, we'd appreciate a phone call. You know, we're not affiliated with any franchisee. We're independent. We are not commission-based salespeople. We will promise to give you an impartial, objective analysis of your particular situation. Just call, you can call me at 704-787-6972. My name's Michael Mazarang. Just give us a call and we'll be glad to talk to you by phone, and then set an appointment to come out and see you at your home. But thanks for watching this. Hopefully it's something that you've learned about the two systems and how we can make your home much more healthy. And again, thanks for visiting us today.